standing in my oceanfront villa's master bedroom, watching waves crash against private cliffs through floor-to-ceiling windows. I should have felt pure joy. 10 years of grinding 80-hour weeks, living in studio apartments, eating ramen, while my parents lavished everything on my golden sister Rachel had led to this moment. Then my phone buzzed. Mom's contact photo filled the screen. My stomach dropped before I even answered, because after a decade of silence, there was only one reason they'd call now that I'd finally made it. I stared at the phone for 3 rings before accepting the inevitable. My mother's voice cut through the ocean breeze like a blade. "Pierce, darling, we saw your little house purchase on social media. No congratulations. No acknowledgement of the blood, sweat, and sleepless nights that built my software consulting business from nothing. Just that tone I remembered from childhood, the one that said I was about to lose something precious. Mom, it's been 3 years since we talked." I gripped the phone tighter, watching a seagull dive for fish outside my window. "How did you even get this number?" "Rachel gave it to me. She's been keeping track of your success." Of course she had. My golden sister always monitored what she considered rightfully hers. "Listen, honey, we need to discuss sharing your good fortune with family." The word sharing sent ice through my veins. I'd heard it countless times growing up. Share your college fund with Rachel. Share your graduation party with Rachel's wedding plans. Share your inheritance with Rachel's medical bills that somehow never materialized into actual medical treatment. "What do you mean, Mom?" I kept my voice steady, professional. The same tone that closed million-dollar deals with tech startups. "Well, Rachel's husband Derek lost his position at the software company last month. Budget cuts, you understand? They have 3 beautiful children who could benefit tremendously from ocean air. Much healthier than that cramped apartment they're renting." My father's gravelly voice joined the conversation. He must have grabbed the extension. "Son, you're living alone in a 4-bedroom house with 2 acres. That's selfish, especially when your sister's family needs space to heal and grow." Heal from what I wanted to scream. Rachel had sailed through life on a cloud of parental support, while I worked 2 jobs through college, graduated with honors, and built my business while she played house with her trust fund husband. "Dad, I just bought this place. I've been working toward this dream for 10 years. Dreams change, Pierce. Family obligations don't." His voice carried that familiar disappointment, the same tone he'd used when I chose computer science over law school, when I moved to California, instead of staying local, when I dared to want something they hadn't pre-approved. Rachel's sugary voice floated through the phone. "Hi, big brother. I know this seems sudden, but the children really need this. Emma has been having respiratory issues from city air pollution, and Brandon's asthma gets worse every summer. The doctor specifically recommended ocean environments for their development." I closed my eyes, remembering Emma's perfectly healthy lungs screaming through my last family visit 2 Christmas mornings ago, and Brandon's miraculous recovery from asthma whenever video games were involved. "Rachel, I understand you're going through difficulties, but this house means everything to me. More than family." The tears started. On cue, perfectly timed. "Pierce, I never asked you for anything growing up. I always supported your dreams, even when Mom and Dad thought you were wasting time with computers." Supported my dreams. She'd convinced our parents to give her my laptop for her art classes, then sold it to buy concert tickets. She'd borrowed my car so many times the engine died from neglect. She'd even talked them into canceling my high school graduation celebration because her boyfriend needed family support during his parents' divorce. "How long are we talking about?" I heard myself ask, hating the weakness creeping into my voice. Mom jumped back in. "Just until Derek finds new employment. Maybe 6 months, possibly longer depending on market conditions. You could stay in the guest quarters by the pool. Think of it as family time you've been missing. 6 months minimum in the guest quarters of my own house that I'd saved for, that I'd earned, that represented every sacrifice I'd made to escape their suffocating favoritism. They're planning to arrive Thursday, Dad announced. Derek rented a moving truck, and Rachel's already researched schools for the children. This transition will be much smoother if you're supportive instead of difficult. Thursday, 3 days away. They'd planned this entire takeover without consulting me, just assumed I'd comply like the obedient disappointment I'd always been. What if I say no? The words escaped before I could stop them. Silence stretched across the phone line like a drawn bowstring. When Mom finally spoke, her voice carried decades of practiced manipulation. Then you'll have made your choice, Pierce. Family or selfishness. Rachel's children or your oversized bachelor pad. We'll know exactly what kind of man our son really is, and frankly, we'll be disappointed but not surprised. Dad's voice joined hers in perfect harmony. Your sister sacrificed her career to raise those children. The least you can do is share your good fortune with the people who loved you first. Loved me first. They'd loved Rachel first, second, and always. I'd been the afterthought, the backup plan, the child who existed to make their golden daughter look better by comparison. I need time to think about this. What's to think about? Rachel's voice sharpened. Either you care about family, or you don't. Either my children matter to you, or they don't. Either you're the generous brother I've been telling them about, or you're the selfish stranger you've become. The line went quiet, except for ocean waves and my thundering heartbeat. 10 years of building boundaries, 10 years of proving my worth, 10 years of believing I'd escaped their toxic dynamic. And here I was right back in the familiar position of choosing between my well-being and their approval. Fine. The word tasted like poison. Thursday works. Oh, wonderful. Mom's voice brightened immediately. You'll see how lovely this arrangement will be. Rachel's children will bring such joy to that lonely house. Lonely house. As if wanting space to breathe, to think, to exist without constant family judgment made me pathetic rather than healthy. After ending the call, I stood in my master bedroom for 20 minutes, watching waves crash against cliffs I'd specifically chosen for their beauty and isolation. My sanctuary violated before I'd even finished unpacking. But as I stared at my reflection in the window, something shifted inside me. I wasn't the powerless teenager they remembered. I was a successful businessman who'd learned to play strategic games with much smarter opponents than my manipulative family. If Rachel wanted my house, she could have it, but she'd discovered that some gifts come with consequences she never anticipated. Sleep eluded me that night. I spent hours pacing my hardwood floors, mind racing with possibilities. By dawn, I'd made several crucial decisions. My first call went to Marcus Rodriguez, my lawyer, and one of the few people who understood my family's toxic dynamics. We'd met during a business negotiation 3 years earlier, bonded over shared experiences with manipulative relatives. Pierce, what time is it? Marcus's groggy voice suggested I'd woken him. 6:30. I need legal advice and possibly bail money by the weekend. That got his attention. What did you do? I explained the situation while brewing coffee in my state-of-the-art kitchen, watching sunrise paint the ocean gold through panoramic windows. Marcus listened without interruption, occasionally making non-committal lawyer sounds. Legally, you own this property free and clear, he said finally. No mortgage, no liens, no outstanding claims. Your family has zero legal standing to demand anything. What if they refuse to leave? Then you file trespassing charges and have them forcibly removed. California property law strongly favors owners over squatters, even family squatters. Good to know. I sipped my coffee, mind already moving to phase 2. What about property damage? Document everything. Video photos, receipts for repairs. If they destroy your belongings, that's criminal vandalism regardless of family relationships. After hanging up, I called Sarah Chen, my property management specialist, who'd helped me find this place. Sarah understood luxury real estate and the personalities who could afford it. Pierce, congratulations again on closing How's Your First Week in Paradise. Complicated. I need some technical modifications made quickly, and I need them done discreetly. Sarah had worked with enough wealthy clients to recognize when situations required creative solutions. What kind of modifications? Climate control systems that can be operated remotely, security cameras with hidden wireless feeds, electronic locks with programmable access codes, the kind of setup that gives me complete control over my property from anywhere. Interesting request. May I ask why? I explained the family invasion scenario. Sarah's silence told me she'd dealt with similar entitled relatives before. I know exactly who to call. Jake Morrison, our best contractor for sensitive situations. Discretion guaranteed work completed invisibly. He'll treat this like a high-end security upgrade. Perfect. Also, I need a comprehensive security system installed today, if possible. Something that records everything, backs up to cloud storage, and can't be easily disabled by house guests. Jake can handle that too. Expect his call within an hour. My next research project involved investigating Rachel's recent activities. Social media provided disturbing insights. 3 weeks ago, she'd posted photos of Ocean View Elementary School with the caption, "Researching options for our little angels." 2 weeks ago, Derek had checked in at several businesses near my house, allegedly job hunting, but really location scouting. They'd been planning this invasion for over a month, assuming I'd surrender my property without resistance. The presumption stung worse than the betrayal. Jake Morrison arrived at 10 a.m., a weathered contractor with intelligent eyes and calloused hands. He walked through my house, nodding thoughtfully at my requirements. "You want full remote access to every system," he summarized. "Climate lighting, water pressure, electrical outlets, internet security, plus hidden cameras in every major room excluding bedrooms and bathrooms for legal reasons." Exactly. I want to know everything that happens in my house, and I want to control their comfort level from anywhere. Jake grinned. Smart home technology meets protective property owner. I can have this installed by Wednesday night, tested and operational before your guests arrive. Guests, right. I signed his contract and wrote a substantial check. One more thing. Can these systems malfunction randomly temporary glitches that seem mechanical rather than intentional? Absolutely. Smart home systems are notoriously unreliable when you want them to be. While Jake's crew installed my defensive measures, I visited Oceanside Security Solutions downtown. The manager, Tom Bradley, specialized in high-end residential protection. I need a system that documents everything without being obvious about it, I explained. Think of it as insurance against false accusations. Tom understood immediately. Domestic situation requiring evidence collection. We see this frequently with divorces and family disputes. The equipment he recommended included voice-activated recording devices, motion-sensitive cameras disguised as everyday objects, and a monitoring system that automatically backed up footage to secure servers. Your coverage will be comprehensive but invisible, Tom assured me. If anything significant happens, you'll have courtroom-quality evidence. Wednesday morning brought frantic activity. Jake's team finished their installations while I transferred my most valuable possessions to a climate-controlled storage unit across town. My art collection, rare books, expensive electronics, and sentimental items disappeared into secure storage. I also moved my essential belongings to the pool house, a charming guest cottage that Jake had equipped with its own independent utilities and security system. If my family wanted the main house, they could have it. I'd be watching from my fortress, gathering evidence for the inevitable legal proceedings. My final preparation involved a visit to the Oceanside Police Department. Officer Michael Thompson, a community liaison who specialized in residential disputes, listened to my situation with professional patience. You're expecting trouble with family members who plan to overstay their welcome, he summarized. I'm hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst. These people have a history of taking advantage, and I want law enforcement aware of potential trespassing issues. Smart approach. Here's my direct number. If you need immediate assistance, call this line. We take property rights seriously in this county. Wednesday evening, I stood in my empty main house admiring Jake's invisible handiwork. Every system operated perfectly, but now responded to my smartphone commands. I could adjust temperature, water pressure, lighting, and electrical outlets with simple swipes. Hidden cameras provided comprehensive coverage streaming to secure servers Tom's company monitored 24 hours daily. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "So excited for tomorrow, the kids can't wait to see Uncle Pierce's amazing house. This will be such a wonderful bonding experience for our family." I typed back, looking forward to seeing everyone. Then I settled into my pool house command center, opened a bottle of wine, and prepared to watch my manipulative family discover what happened when they tried to steal from someone who'd learned to fight back. Thursday arrived with crystalline skies and gentle ocean breezes, the kind of perfect California morning that belonged in tourism brochures. I watched from my pool house window as a black Escalade and enormous moving truck navigated my circular driveway at exactly 10 a.m. Rachel emerged first wearing a designer sundress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Her blonde hair caught sunlight as she surveyed my property with calculating eyes, already mentally redecorating spaces I'd carefully chosen. 3 children tumbled from the SUV, Brandon, 11 years old, with his father's arrogant swagger. Emma, 8, clutching a tablet like a security blanket, and little Tyler, 5, who immediately began pulling flowers from my carefully maintained garden beds. Derek supervised the moving crew with the authority of someone accustomed to other people doing his work. His polo shirt and khakis screamed country club privilege, the uniform of a man who'd never doubted his right to the best of everything. My parents arrived 20 minutes later in their silver Mercedes, stepping out like visiting dignitaries, inspecting conquered territory. Mom wore her church meeting outfit, projecting wholesome family values while enabling the theft of her son's property. Dad carried himself with judicial bearing, ready to pronounce moral judgments on anyone who questioned their righteous cause. I activated my security system and watched through hidden cameras as they entered my house without knocking. Rachel's children scattered immediately, treating my home like a playground designed for their entertainment. Brandon discovered my entertainment room and began jumping on my custom Italian leather furniture, leaving muddy footprints on cushions that cost more than most cars. Emma found my art supplies and started drawing on walls I'd spent weeks choosing the perfect shade of ocean blue. Tyler wandered outside and began throwing rocks at my koi pond, disrupting fish that had taken months to acclimate to their new environment. "Pierce, darling, where are you hiding?" Mom's voice carried through the house as she opened doors, cataloging my possessions. I emerged from the pool house, crossing the stone pathway with measured steps. Time to play my role as the accommodating host they expected. "Welcome to my home." I called out, genuine warmth in my voice. "I hope everyone had a pleasant drive." Rachel rushed to embrace me, her perfume overwhelming in the ocean breeze. "Oh, Pierce, this place is absolutely magical. The children are already in love with it." In love with destroying it, based on what I'd witnessed through the cameras. Derek approached with his hand, extended grip, slightly too firm, eye contact, slightly too aggressive. "Pierce, thanks for sharing your space with family. This gesture means everything to Rachel and the kids." "Family takes care of family," I replied, echoing their favorite manipulation phrase. "Let me show everyone around." I led them through my house, pointing out features, while internally wincing at the damage already accumulating. Tyler had somehow managed to smear chocolate on my white kitchen cabinets. Emma's artistic expression now decorated my hallway walls. Brandon had activated my sound system and cranked the volume to neighbor-disturbing levels. "The master suite has an incredible view," I explained, opening French doors to my private balcony overlooking the cliffs. "Perfect for watching sunrises." Rachel gasped appropriately. "Pierce, we can't possibly take your bedroom. That wouldn't be fair." "I insist. The pool house suits me perfectly. Think of this as your family vacation rental, except free and indefinite." Mom and Dad exchanged satisfied glances. Their manipulation had worked flawlessly, just like always. Derek disappeared to supervise the moving crew who began carrying furniture into my house without protective coverings. A sofa leg gouged my hardwood floor. A lamp crashed against my doorframe, shattering the ceramic base. A bookshelf scraped paint off my carefully chosen accent wall. "Should I mention the property damage?" I asked Mom quietly. "Oh, Pierce, accidents happen during moves. You can't expect perfection when families are transitioning. Besides, Derek will fix any little scratches once they're settled." Little scratches. I watched a mover drag a heavy chest across my floor, leaving deep gouges in wood that would require professional restoration. An hour later, a woman in a business suit arrived carrying a leather briefcase. Rachel introduced her as Laura Hoffman, a real estate professional who specialized in family property transitions. "Pierce, such a pleasure to meet you," Laura said, her smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Rachel's told me wonderful things about your generosity." "Property transitions?" I asked, though my stomach already knew the answer. "Simple paperwork to formalize the arrangement," Dad explained. "Nothing complicated, just documentation that Rachel's family has legal residence rights while Derek job hunts." "Legal residence rights? In my house?" "That I owned outright." Laura opened her briefcase and produced official-looking documents. "These forms establish Rachel and Derek as primary residents, with you listed as secondary occupant of the pool house. It protects everyone's interests and prevents misunderstandings." "What kind of misunderstandings?" Rachel sat beside me on my couch, her voice honey-sweet. "Well, if anything happened to you, God forbid the children would need housing stability. This paperwork ensures they wouldn't be displaced during grief and uncertainty. If anything happened to me, like they were already planning my funeral." Derek returned from directing the movers, sweat staining his expensive shirt. He grabbed a beer from my refrigerator without asking, then noticed my wine collection in the climate-controlled cabinet. "Holy shit, Pierce, you've got some serious bottles here." He pulled out a 1995 Bordeaux I'd been saving for a special occasion. "Mind if I sample your taste in wine?" "Actually, that bottle is quite valuable." "Come on, brother. Family shares the good stuff." Derek opened it with my expensive corkscrew, poured himself a generous glass, and drank it like house wine. I watched $600 disappear down his throat, while Mom smiled approvingly at his masculine authority. "The paperwork just needs your signature." Laura pressed spreading documents across my coffee table. "Simple formalities to make everything official." I picked up the contracts, scanning legal language that would essentially sign away ownership of my house, while maintaining responsibility for mortgage payments, insurance taxes, and maintenance costs. I'd become a tenant in my own home, financially responsible for property I no longer controlled. "This seems rather complicated for a temporary arrangement," I said. "Temporary can become permanent quickly," Dad warned. "Derek's job search might take longer than expected. Technology markets are unpredictable. You wouldn't want to disrupt the children's education by forcing multiple moves." Rachel dabbed her eyes with tissues that appeared from nowhere. "Pierce, I never wanted to burden you, but the children's stability has to come first. They've already been through so much with Derek's layoff and my health issues." Health issues I'd never heard mentioned before. "Perhaps I should have my lawyer review these documents before signing." The temperature in the room dropped noticeably. Derek's jaw tightened. Dad's eyes flashed with familiar disappointment. Mom's mouth formed a thin line of disapproval. "Lawyers complicate simple family arrangements," Dad said. "This is about trust, Pierce, about proving you truly care about your sister's children. If you need legal review for family paperwork, maybe we misunderstood your commitment to this arrangement." Derek added his voice, carrying an edge of threat. I looked around my house, now filled with boxes, damaged furniture, and children who treated my property like a destruction playground. Rachel clutched my arm with desperate intensity. Mom and Dad watched with expectant eyes. Laura tapped her pen impatiently. "I appreciate everyone's understanding," I said finally, "but I need some time to process everything. This has all happened very quickly." "How much time?" Rachel's voice cracked with theatrical emotion. "Just overnight. I'll have an answer tomorrow." Derek stepped closer, his beer breath overwhelming. Pierce, my family needs stability. We've already arranged school enrollments, established mail forwarding, and committed to this living situation. You can't leave us hanging because of cold feet. One night, I repeated firmly. That's all I'm asking. I excused myself, walking to the pool house, while my family stared after me with expressions ranging from disappointed to hostile. Once inside my sanctuary, I activated my security cameras and settled in to watch their true personalities emerge. The show began immediately. From my pool house command center, I watched my family's behavior change the moment they thought I couldn't see them. Derek's friendly facade disappeared as he prowled through my house, opening drawers, examining my belongings, evaluating my possessions like items at an estate sale. This guy's loaded, he told Rachel, holding up my Rolex. Look at this watch, $15,000 minimum. Rachel joined him in my bedroom, rifling through my closet. His business must be doing incredibly well. Look at these suits. Pierce always dressed like a college student. We should have done this years ago, Derek continued. Your brother's been living like a king while we struggle with kids and bills. Struggle with kids and bills, Derek's social media showed country club memberships, expensive vacations, and luxury purchases funded by gifts from his wealthy parents. Mom and Dad explored my kitchen, opening cabinets and commenting on my food choices. He's got $100 bottles of olive oil, Dad observed. Always was wasteful with money. This kitchen could feed a small restaurant, Mom added. Such extravagance for one person. Meanwhile, the children continued their destruction campaign. Brandon found my home office and began pulling books from shelves, leaving them scattered across my Persian rug. Emma discovered my bathroom and used my expensive skincare products to give her dolls spa treatments. Tyler somehow accessed my art supplies and began finger painting my sliding glass doors. Time to test my upgraded systems. I activated the first phase through my smartphone app. Within minutes, water pressure throughout the main house dropped to a weak trickle. The air conditioning began cycling off every few minutes, leaving the interior temperature climbing toward uncomfortable levels. Rachel noticed first. Derek, the shower pressure is terrible. I can barely rinse shampoo out of my hair. Must be the water pump. Derek replied, though he clearly knew nothing about residential water systems. Pierce probably has old equipment. The temperature rose steadily as my programmed malfunctions continued. By evening, the main house registered 85 degrees, while my pool house maintained perfect climate control. Emma started crying about the heat. Tyler stripped off his clothes and refused to get dressed. Brandon complained loudly about everything from the water pressure to the internet speed, which I'd reduced to barely functional levels. Derek tried calling repair services, but the companies I'd pre-arranged with kept pushing appointments back due to scheduling conflicts, parts availability, and other creative delays. This is ridiculous, Rachel complained to her parents. How can Pierce live with such unreliable systems? Perhaps the house isn't as well maintained as it appears, Mom suggested. Men living alone often neglect important maintenance. Dad nodded sagely. Pierce always was careless with responsibility. Remember his college dorm? I did remember. I'd kept my dorm room spotless while Rachel's apartment looked like a tornado had blown through it. But somehow I'd earned the reputation as the messy one. As night fell, the situation deteriorated further. Electrical outlets began working intermittently, making it impossible to charge devices or run appliances consistently. The Wi-Fi connection became sporadic, cutting out during Derek's job interview video calls. This is sabotage, Derek announced during an emergency family meeting in my living room. Pierce is doing this intentionally. That's a serious accusation, Dad replied. Pierce wouldn't deliberately undermine family arrangements. Wouldn't he? Derek's voice rose. He was reluctant about the paperwork now. Suddenly everything breaks down. That's not coincidence. Rachel tried to mediate. Maybe we should talk to Pierce directly, ask if he knows about these problems. I entered right on cue, carrying a toolbox and wearing my most concerned expression. I heard you're having system issues, I said. Let me check the main electrical panel. I spent 20 minutes examining connections, testing outlets, and making thoughtful noises while secretly enjoying my performance. These problems seem related to power fluctuations, I concluded. Probably caused by the recent installation of new smart home systems. Sometimes there are compatibility issues with older wiring. Can you fix it? Rachel asked hopefully. I'll need professional electricians, HVAC specialists, and probably a plumbing contractor. Unfortunately, good technicians are booked weeks in advance during summer months. Derek's face darkened. Weeks we can't live without air conditioning and proper water pressure for weeks. I could arrange temporary hotel accommodations. I offered generously. There's a lovely resort about 20 minutes inland. Absolutely not, Mom declared. Hotels cost hundreds per night for a family of 5. The children need stability, Rachel added. Moving them again would be traumatic. Then we'll make do until repairs are completed, Dad decided. A little discomfort builds character. Easy for him to say. He'd be sleeping in his climate-controlled house while Rachel's family sweated through 90-degree nights. Derek cornered me privately as I prepared to return to the pool house. Pierce, I know what you're doing. I'm sorry. The house problems. The convenient repair delays. You're trying to make us leave. I met his aggressive stare with innocent confusion. Derek, I want this arrangement to work for everyone. Why would I sabotage my own house? Because you're still the selfish little brother who never learned to share. That's hurtful, but not accurate. I'm doing everything possible to make your family comfortable. Derek stepped closer, beer on his breath, despite the early hour. If I find out you're causing these problems intentionally, there will be consequences. What kind of consequences? The kind that teach spoiled rich boys about family respect. I smiled and patted his shoulder in a brotherly manner. Derek's stress makes people say things they don't mean. Why don't you get some rest? Tomorrow will be better. As I walked away, I heard him punch my wall in frustration. Another property damage incident for my growing evidence file. Back in my pool house, I reviewed security footage from the day. Derek drinking my wine, Rachel going through my personal belongings, the children destroying my property, my parents enabling every violation of basic respect and boundaries. But the real revelation came at midnight when Derek made a phone call I wasn't supposed to overhear. Yeah, it's me, he said to someone. The plan's working perfectly. Pierce signed the residence papers, so we have legal standing now. Once he's out of the picture, the property transfer will be simple. Out of the picture, I increased the audio sensitivity on my recording equipment. No, he's not suspicious yet. Still playing the helpful brother role, but he won't be a problem much longer. Derek hung up and poured himself another glass of my expensive wine. Then he walked to my kitchen and began opening cabinets, obviously searching for something specific. I watched him pull out cleaning supplies, examining labels, until he found what he wanted, industrial-strength drain cleaner containing sulfuric acid. My blood turned cold as Derek studied the warning labels, then Googled household accident swimming pools on his phone. He was planning to kill me. Friday morning brought a flurry of activity as I executed the most important phone calls of my life. My first contact was Marcus, who answered on the second ring despite the early hour. Pierce, please tell me you're calling with good news. I'm calling because my brother-in-law researched swimming pool accidents last night while handling industrial drain cleaner in my kitchen. The silence stretched for 10 seconds before Marcus responded. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying I have video evidence of someone planning my murder to steal my property. How quickly can you get to my house? 30 minutes. Don't confront anyone until I arrive. My second call went to Officer Thompson, who took the situation just as seriously. Mr. Pierce, if you have evidence of planned violence, this becomes a criminal matter immediately. I'm dispatching units to your location. Should I evacuate? Stay in your secured location and avoid contact with the suspects until we arrive. While waiting for backup, I compiled my evidence files, security footage, audio recordings, financial documents proving my sole ownership, photographs of property damage, and Derek's recorded phone conversation about making me out of the picture. The doorbell rang at exactly 9 a.m. Marcus arrived with a briefcase and grim determination, followed by Officer Thompson and 2 additional patrol officers. Before we confront anyone, Marcus said, "I need to review all your evidence." We spent 30 minutes in my pool house examining video footage and audio recordings. Officer Thompson took notes while his colleagues secured the perimeter. "This is more than enough for criminal conspiracy charges," Thompson concluded. "The recorded phone call combined with the internet searches establishes clear intent." "What about the property fraud?" I asked. Marcus held up the documents Rachel's real estate agent had brought. "These contracts are completely invalid. You can't sign away property ownership through residency agreements, and you certainly can't do it under duress or false pretenses." "So I own my house." "You never stopped owning your house. These papers are worthless legal theater designed to confuse you." Officer Thompson radioed for additional backup, including detectives who specialized in financial crimes. "We're going to arrest several people today, Mr. Pierce. Are you prepared for family consequences?" I thought about 10 years of manipulation, a decade of being treated as inferior to my golden sister, and Derek's plan to murder me for my property. "I'm prepared for justice." We approached the main house as a Group 3 police officers, my lawyer and me carrying a briefcase full of evidence. I knocked on my own front door and waited for Rachel to answer. "Pierce, what a lovely surprise. Come in for coffee." Her smile faltered when she noticed my official entourage. "Rachel, we need to have a family meeting. Please ask everyone to join us in the living room." Derek appeared first, assessing the police presence with the quick calculation of someone accustomed to legal trouble. Mom and Dad followed, their faces already shifting from confusion to defensive anger. "What's the meaning of this?" Dad demanded. "Why are police officers in Pierce's house?" "Actually, that's exactly the question we need to address," Officer Thompson replied. "Everyone, please sit down." I opened my briefcase and placed printed screenshots on the coffee table. Derek researching pool accidents, Rachel going through my belongings, financial documents showing their fraudulent contracts, property damage photographs, totaling thousands of dollars in destruction. "These images were captured by my home security system," I announced. "They document criminal activity occurring in my house over the past 2 days. Rachel's face went white. Derek's jaw tightened as he recognized his late-night computer session. "Pierce, what are you talking about?" Mom asked. "What criminal activity?" Marcus stepped forward. "Mrs. Pierce, your family has committed several felonies, criminal conspiracy, attempted fraud, property destruction, and planning violent crime against your son." "That's ridiculous," Dad sputtered. "This is family business, not criminal behavior." Officer Thompson held up transcripts of Derek's recorded phone conversation. "Mr. Derek Miller, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder and fraud. You have the right to remain silent." Derek lunged toward me before the officers restrained him. "You sneaky little bastard, you recorded private conversations?" "I recorded criminal conspiracy occurring in my house," I corrected. "There's a significant legal difference." Rachel began crying, but these tears seemed genuine rather than manipulative. "Derek, what phone call? What is Pierce talking about?" The officers read Derek his rights while handcuffing him. His face cycled through rage, denial, and finally desperate calculation. "This is entrapment," he shouted. "Pierce set us up with fake house problems." "Actually," Marcus replied, "property owners have the right to monitor their own houses, and homeowners can adjust their own utility systems however they choose." Mom and Dad watched their son-in-law get arrested with expressions of dawning horror. Their perfect family narrative was collapsing in real time. "Rachel Pierce Miller," Officer Thompson continued, "you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud and property destruction." "I didn't destroy anything," Rachel protested as they handcuffed her. I pointed to photographs of her children's vandalism and her own searching through my belongings. These images show family members systematically damaging my property while planning to steal it legally. Dad stepped forward with his judicial bearing. This is a civil family matter that should be resolved privately." "Wrong," Marcus replied. "Conspiracy to commit murder is never a civil matter. Neither is property fraud involving forged legal documents." Laura Hoffman, the fake real estate agent, was arrested as she tried to leave through my back door. Her briefcase contained similar fraudulent contracts prepared for other potential victims. As police led my family members away in handcuffs, I felt something I hadn't experienced in decades: complete freedom from their manipulation. But Rachel's children remained crying and confused as their parents disappeared into police cars. "Uncle Pierce." Emma sobbed. "Why did they take Mommy and Daddy?" I knelt beside the three kids, choosing my words carefully. "Your parents made some bad choices about other people's property. They need to talk to lawyers and judges about fixing their mistakes." "Are we going to jail too?" Brandon asked, his earlier arrogance replaced by genuine fear. "No, sweetheart. Children don't go to jail for adult mistakes. Your grandparents will take care of you while your parents sort this out." Mom and Dad stood in my driveway watching their carefully constructed family mythology crumble. For the first time in my life, they looked genuinely ashamed. "Pierce," Mom said quietly. "We had no idea Derek was planning something violent." "But you knew about the property fraud," I replied. "You encouraged it, enabled it, and pressured me to sign illegal documents." Dad's shoulders sagged with defeated recognition. "We've made terrible mistakes." "Yes, you have. For 30 years, you've treated me as inferior to Rachel, while enabling her increasingly destructive behavior. Now your golden child faces prison time because you never taught her boundaries or consequences." As social services arrived to arrange temporary custody of Rachel's children, I made my final decision about family relationships. The cycle of manipulation was broken. Justice had been served. And for the first time in my adult life, I was completely free to build my own happiness. The next 72 hours transformed my life more dramatically than the previous decade combined. News of the arrests spread through our small community with the speed of social media, creating a spectacle my family had never anticipated when they planned their property theft. Rachel and Derek spent the weekend in county jail, unable to make bail due to the severity of charges. Derek faced potential murder conspiracy charges, carrying 25 years to life, while Rachel's fraud and property destruction charges could result in 5 to 7 years imprisonment. Their children stayed with my parents, who suddenly found themselves responsible for 3 confused, traumatized kids, without any of the support systems they'd dismantled over years of enabling Derek and Rachel's irresponsible behavior. Monday morning brought a parade of moving trucks as court-ordered property removal began. Everything my family had brought into my house had to be removed under police supervision, with each item cataloged for potential evidence. I watched from my pool house as movers loaded furniture boxes and belongings back onto trucks. Derek's expensive golf clubs, Rachel's designer clothing toys the children had scattered throughout my property, all of it disappearing as quickly as it had arrived. The most satisfying moment came when they removed the fraudulent legal documents Laura Hoffman had prepared. Marcus stood beside the moving supervisor, ensuring every piece of fake paperwork was collected for prosecution evidence. Mom called from my driveway around noon. "May we speak privately?" I met them beside my fountain where Tyler had killed several expensive koi fish just days earlier. "We owe you an enormous apology." Dad began his usual judicial confidence, replaced by genuine humility. "We enabled behavior that could have gotten you killed." Mom's eyes were red from crying. "We spent so many years treating you as the disappointing child that we forgot to see who you really became." "You forgot to see me as your son," I corrected. "Everything was always about Rachel's needs, Rachel's feelings, Rachel's children. I was just the bank account you could access when she needed more money." "You're right," Dad admitted. "We failed you as parents, and we failed Rachel by never holding her accountable for her choices." "Where will the children go?" I asked, because despite everything, Brandon, Emma, and Tyler were innocent victims of their parents' crimes. With us for now, Mom replied. Social services approved temporary custody pending trial outcomes. Can you handle 3 children? Dad laughed bitterly. Honestly, we have no idea. We spent decades giving Rachel money to hire nannies and housekeepers instead of learning to actually parent. Now we're 70 years old trying to care for kids we spoiled from a distance. The irony was devastating. My parents had enabled their daughter's irresponsibility so thoroughly that they couldn't provide competent care for their own grandchildren. What about Derek's family? I asked. His parents disowned him the moment they heard about the murder conspiracy, Mom explained. Apparently, this wasn't his first legal trouble. They've been covering up his problems for years. As the moving trucks departed, I surveyed my house and grounds. Professional cleaning crews would arrive tomorrow to repair the damage, but the emotional restoration felt more significant than any physical repairs. My phone rang Tuesday morning with news that changed everything. Pierce, it's Marcus. We need to talk immediately. Good news or bad news? Devastating news for your family. Derek's phone records show he contacted a professional crime consultant about making your death look accidental. My blood chilled. Professional crime consultant. Someone who specializes in insurance fraud murders. Derek wasn't just fantasizing about killing you. He was getting professional guidance on methods that would avoid police suspicion. How do you murder someone without police suspicion? Apparently drowning in your own pool during late-night swimming. No witnesses, no obvious signs of foul play, especially if the victim has been drinking your expensive wine. I sat down heavily, realizing how close I'd come to becoming a statistic. Derek had planned every detail of my murder while my parents encouraged him to take over my property. There's more, Marcus continued. Police found similar consultation records on Derek's computer going back 6 months. He's been researching your financial situation, your property value, your insurance policies. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. 6 months of planning to kill me! And Rachel knew. Text messages between them discussed timing the property transfer to occur shortly after your accident. She was an active participant in planning your murder. The betrayal cut deeper than any childhood favoritism or adult manipulation. My sister had helped plan my death, so her children could inherit my house. Wednesday brought Derek's arraignment, where he pled not guilty to all charges despite overwhelming evidence. His court-appointed lawyer argued that planning wasn't the same as acting that thought crimes shouldn't carry attempted murder penalties. The prosecutor disagreed. Derek's consultation with crime professionals combined with his research and preparation constituted conspiracy to commit murder under California law. Rachel's arraignment Thursday morning proved equally dramatic. Presented with evidence of her text messages discussing my planned accident, she broke down completely. I never wanted Pierce to die. She sobbed to the judge. Derek said it would look natural that no one would get hurt. Her lawyer immediately requested a recess to explain that his client had just confessed to conspiracy charges on public record. By Friday, both Derek and Rachel were seeking plea agreements. Derek faced life imprisonment without parole, while Rachel could receive 25 years for conspiracy to commit murder. The local newspaper covered every detail of their trials under headlines like "Family Greed Leads to Murder Plot" and "Brother's Success Triggers Deadly Betrayal." Our story became a cautionary tale about family manipulation and the dangerous consequences of enabling destructive behavior. But the most profound change occurred in my relationship with my parents. Saturday evening, they requested another meeting in my driveway. This time they brought Brandon, Emma, and Tyler, who ran to me with genuine affection, despite everything their parents had done. Uncle Pierce's grandma says Mommy and Daddy did bad things, Emma said, climbing onto my lap. But we still love you. Looking at those innocent faces, I realized the children were victims too. They needed stability and love, not punishment for their parents' crimes. I love you too, sweetheart. This isn't your fault, and nothing will change how much I care about you. Mom and Dad watched our interaction with expressions mixing hope and desperation. Pierce, Dad said quietly, we know we have no right to ask anything of you after what we've done. But we're too old to raise 3 young children properly, Mom continued. We were wondering if you might consider helping with their care. I studied my parents' faces, seeing genuine remorse for the first time in decades. What kind of help? Financial support for their education, maybe occasional visits so they maintain family connections, Dad suggested. We'll handle daily care, but they could benefit from knowing their successful uncle. The uncle whose murder their parents planned. Mom winced. They don't know those details, and we pray they never will. But they need positive male role models, and you're the only family member who can provide that. I looked at Brandon, Emma, and Tyler, 3 children whose lives had been shattered by their parents' greed and my parents' enabling. They deserved better than the toxic family dynamics that had nearly destroyed us all. I'll help with their education and provide occasional guidance, I decided. But you'll need family therapy to break the patterns that created this disaster. Dad nodded immediately. Already arranged. We start counseling next week. As my parents drove away with the children, I stood in my driveway watching the sunset paint the ocean gold. Justice had been served, but healing would take much longer. My family had finally learned the consequences of their choices. Now I could begin building the healthy life I'd always deserved. 3 months later, my oceanfront villa felt like home for the first time since I'd purchased it. Professional restoration had erased every trace of my family's destructive visit, leaving my house more beautiful than ever. The legal proceedings concluded with perfect justice. Derek received 30 years to life for conspiracy to commit murder, while Rachel was sentenced to 15 years for her role in planning my death. Both would serve their time in different facilities, their marriage effectively over. Laura Hoffman, their real estate accomplice, received 7 years for fraud conspiracy. Investigation revealed she'd targeted other wealthy individuals with similar property theft schemes, using family relationships to bypass normal legal protections. My parents completed 6 months of intensive family therapy before I agreed to supervised visits with Rachel's children. The therapist helped them understand how their favoritism had created the toxic dynamics that nearly resulted in my murder. We turned Rachel into a monster by never holding her accountable. Mom admitted during our first family dinner in my restored dining room. We taught her that wanting something meant she deserved to have it regardless of who got hurt. Dad nodded sadly. We were so afraid of disappointing our golden child that we ignored how our favoritism was damaging both of you. Brandon, Emma, and Tyler adapted surprisingly well to their new reality. Living with grandparents who finally learned appropriate boundaries provided them with structure they'd never experienced. They visited me monthly, treating my house with respect and genuine appreciation. Uncle Pierce, Brandon said during a beach walk in December. Mom and Dad did really bad things, didn't they? I chose my words carefully. Your parents made choices that hurt people. Sometimes adults make mistakes they can't fix. Will they ever come home? Not for many years, sweetheart, but that doesn't mean you're loved any less. Emma, now attending the local elementary school, surprised everyone with her academic potential once her destructive behavior was addressed through therapy. Tyler thrived with consistent rules and consequences his parents had never provided. The children's progress reinforced my belief that healthy boundaries create safety rather than limitation. My business flourished during the months following my family's arrests. The stress relief of escaping their manipulation freed creative energy I'd been unconsciously suppressing for years. I landed several major contracts and hired additional consultants to handle increasing demand. More importantly, I began developing genuine relationships unburdened by family obligations. Sarah Chen, my property manager, had become much more than a professional contact. Our coffee meetings evolved into dinner dates, then weekend trips exploring California's coast. She understood both the value of beautiful spaces and the importance of protecting them from people who didn't appreciate their worth. You've changed, she observed during a sunset dinner on my balcony in January. You seem more relaxed, more confident. I feel free for the first time in my adult life, I replied. No more walking on eggshells around family members who saw me as a resource rather than a person. Do you miss them? I considered the question honestly. I miss the idea of loving family relationships, but I don't miss the manipulation, the guilt trips, or the constant feeling that my worth depended on what I could provide for Rachel. Sarah smiled. And now I know that people who truly love you support your success, instead of trying to steal it. My relationship with Marcus also deepened beyond professional necessity. He became a genuine friend who understood the challenges of breaking free from toxic family dynamics. You did something incredibly brave, he told me during a beach barbecue in February. Most people would have signed those papers, given up the house, and spent years resenting their family while enabling more abuse. I got lucky with the security system, I replied. Without evidence, Derek and Rachel might have succeeded. Luck had nothing to do with it. You prepared strategically because you finally valued yourself enough to fight back. Officer Thompson visited occasionally, checking on my well-being and sharing updates about similar cases. Our friendship reminded me that some authority figures actually protect people rather than enable abusers. Your story has become training material for our department, he mentioned during a spring visit. We use it to teach officers about recognizing family property fraud schemes. I'm glad something positive came from the experience. More than you realize. 3 other families have reported similar situations since your case became public. Your courage to prosecute probably prevented other people from losing their homes or lives. The most profound change occurred in my relationship with success itself. Previously, achievement felt like armor protecting me from family criticism. Now accomplishments represented personal satisfaction rather than defensive strategies. I established a scholarship program for students from dysfunctional families, providing both financial support and mentorship for young people trying to escape toxic dynamics. The first recipients reminded me of my younger self, brilliant, ambitious kids, held back by relatives who saw their potential as threatening rather than inspiring. You're giving them what you needed, Sarah observed, as we interviewed scholarship candidates. I'm giving them what everyone deserves, the chance to succeed without family sabotage. Rachel sent letters from prison, occasionally alternating between apologies and attempts to manipulate me into providing commissary money or legal assistance for appeals. I stopped reading them after the first few, recognizing the same manipulation patterns that had controlled my childhood. Derek wrote once a rambling letter blaming me for destroying his family by refusing to share my success. His complete lack of accountability confirmed that prison hadn't inspired any genuine self-reflection. My parents, however, demonstrated real growth through their therapy process. They acknowledged decades of damaging favoritism and worked consistently to provide Rachel's children with the structure and boundaries they should have learned from birth. We can't change the past, Dad said during a Christmas dinner at my house, but we can make sure these children learn healthy relationship patterns. Mom nodded, watching her grandchildren play responsibly in my restored garden. They're learning that love means supporting each other's growth, not enabling destructive behavior. As my second Christmas in the house approached, I reflected on the profound life lessons embedded in this traumatic experience. Family loyalty doesn't require accepting abuse. True family members celebrate your success rather than trying to steal it. Setting boundaries with toxic people creates space for healthy relationships to flourish. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is refusing to enable their destructive choices. Sarah and I talked about moving in together, combining her understanding of beautiful spaces with my appreciation for protecting them. The pool house would make an excellent office for her property management business. "Are you ready for someone to share your sanctuary?" she asked. "I'm ready to share my life with someone who enhances rather than exploits it." Looking back, I realized that my family's betrayal had actually given me an unexpected gift complete freedom to choose relationships based on mutual respect rather than obligation. Every friendship, every professional connection, every romantic possibility could be evaluated according to how people treated me rather than what they demanded from me. Standing on my deck one evening, watching waves crash against cliffs I'd specifically chosen for their beauty and isolation, I understood that true success meant creating a life that reflected my values rather than other people's expectations. My house by the ocean represented more than financial achievement now. It symbolized the courage to protect what I'd earned, the wisdom to recognize manipulation before it destroyed me, and the strength to choose love over loyalty when family members became enemies. The greatest lesson, sometimes the most loving thing you can do for toxic family members, is refuse to enable their destructive behavior, even when they call your boundaries selfish. Rachel and Derek learned that stealing from family carries serious consequences. My parents discovered that favoring one child damages both children and creates dangerous entitlement. Rachel's children experienced the stability that comes from appropriate boundaries and consistent consequences. And I learned that protecting myself from family abuse wasn't selfish. It was essential for creating the healthy, productive life I deserved. As Sarah joined me on the deck, slipping her hand into mine, while we watched the sunset paint the ocean gold, I felt profound gratitude for the courage that had saved my life and freed my future. The waves continued their eternal rhythm against the cliffs, washing away yesterday's troubles and bringing tomorrow's possibilities with each tide. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and protecting yourself from toxic behavior? What boundaries have you needed to establish with relatives who saw your success as something they deserved to share? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like to help others find inspiration for setting healthy boundaries with manipulative family members. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about overcoming family manipulation and building the life you deserve. And please share this with anyone who might need encouragement to stand up against toxic family dynamics. Thank you for joining me on this journey of discovery and growth. Remember, you deserve relationships that celebrate your success rather than exploit it. Until next time, keep protecting your peace and choosing people who truly have your best interests at heart.